This is Polish Peter, and you are listening to episode 82 of Immigrant Masters Unite. What if you came into the United States and didn't speak English very well? You had a heavy accent and you had 2 kids and you wanted to create an income for yourself to be able to spend time with them, to be able to go on vacations and things like that. How would you do it? Well, this particular episode is all about that. Hey, this is Polish Peter. And welcome to another amazing episode of Immigrant Masters Unite, where immigrants unite and transform lives. That's right, this podcast is all about helping you transform your life, your business, and the world around you. And I, on this particular episode, have a lady. Her name is Anne Hillyard, and she is originally from Finland. And over the past 12 years, Anne has created a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio that has provided her financial freedom, and most importantly, the freedom to choose how she spends her time with her young children. So she, on this particular podcast, actually talked about how she started it, where she started it, and how she made it happen with the 2 kids on her own. She started literally by reading a single book. And what ended up happening is helping her create a portfolio of $6.5 million portfolio to give that financial freedom. So she believes that as an immigrant stay-at-home mom with a heavy accent, you can really build a successful rental portfolio from yourself. So we talked about how to do it. We talked about fear. We talked about mindset. We talked about the accent, how to get through the accent, and the scarcity mindset and abundance mindset. So I'm really excited for this particular episode. So without further ado, let's jump in and welcome Anne Hillyard from Finland. So, hey, Anne, thank you so much for being on the Immigrant Masters Unite podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I'm glad that you're on here. We met not too long ago, and I know you have some really cool things going on in your life. So, but before we dive a little bit more into that, share a little bit about your story, where you came from, how you got here to the United States, and all the good stuff.
Sure. So I'm originally from Finland, and it definitely was not my plan to end up to the United States. And I was already in college when my family, I'm the oldest of 11 children, and my dad was an entrepreneur, and he had been working hard all his life and had been really successful. So he ended up selling some of his companies and decided he wants to take some time off and spend it with the family. So my family ended up moving to Scottsdale, Arizona, and they ended up spending 2 years there so that the little kids, the youngest child was 2 years old, so that the little kids can learn English and a different culture. And I was in college in Finland, and I was like, no way, I'm not coming. I had other plans. I was planning to go to South Africa as an exchange student. But my mom was like, no, come in the beginning so you can kind of help out when all the kids go to school, and none of the little kids knew any English. So I was like, okay, I will come. So we moved here on August, and then I was going to stay till Christmas and just kind of help out. And my second week in Scottsdale, I went hiking, and it was August. It was 115 degree days. Mm-hmm. But coming from Finland, it was finally some sunshine. So I still went hiking during the day. And then I happened to see these people rock climbing, and I had never even heard of rock climbing. And I was kind of like, what the heck are they doing? And then I was like, oh, that must be rock climbing, because they had ropes and everything else. And I was like, I definitely want to try that. And I happened to know this lady, and I asked her if she knows anybody, any service that could teach me. And turns out that her husband worked with the guy who does rock climbing as a hobby. And that ended up being my husband. So I ended up meeting him my second week here. And then somehow it just kind of clicked right away. And when my parents realized something is happening, they were like, no, you need to go back to Finland right now. And I was like, sorry, now it's too late. I'm staying.
Wow. So wait a minute. So you met your husband 2 weeks in?
Yeah, 2 weeks in here. Yeah.
Wow. That's some kind of a story. That's pretty amazing.
And actually the thing is, I mean, obviously God is in charge, but the amazing part is that my parents and my siblings, they all like applied for a 1-year visa, and all the little kids, because they had a school, like they had like already secured the school in here. So they all ended up getting 1-year visas. But my parents only got 6-month visas. So then they had like reapply in 6 months. I only applied for 5 months, and then, or maybe it was 6 months, but like I only applied till Christmas, and mine came back as a full year. So then when I now had met my husband, I was able to actually like then get the program with ASU to get the exchange program. So I went to ASU and I was talked to them, and I was like, hey, can we start the exchange program? Because I want to stay here for the spring semester. And I was able to get it started. And then I ended up like staying and studying at ASU. So like God had somehow like, I mean, obviously knew that it's going to happen, and then gave me the whole year visa without me even applying, which is like completely unheard of.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I mean, even any kind of stories that I hear on this podcast, a lot of them are, would you ever thought that you would be in the United States? And they're like, heck no. I mean, that would never even cross my mind, right? Growing up or anything like that. Then you end up here, and all of a sudden your life is different and you start making something out of it. So my next question for you is, because you said something earlier in a conversation about your oldest out of a lot of kids.
11.
11 kids. So, and then your parents were entrepreneurs. Your dad was an entrepreneur, right? In Finland. So do you see any differences between the entrepreneurship there and here, or is it pretty universal?
It's pretty universal. Like with the entrepreneurship, it's pretty universal, that portion of it. I see other differences on just like regular like employees and like job things, because like here people work way more. Like I feel like we have a really good work ethic in Finland. So when we work hard, but we work from like 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, and then you have your free time and you have a long vacations and things. And here people just don't have enough personal time and enough free time. And I think it's unhealthy to just work and not have the time to actually recharge yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why like I do what I do, because one of the things that I've noticed here as an immigrant, and we immigrants are not the best ones at doing this, because we tend to work a lot of hours, right? It's not unusual for an immigrant to work 80, 90 hours. And what ends up happening is your job takes over, or your business takes over your life. And then how you enjoy life, you wanted to go and actually, have the business or whatever to have a good life, to go on vacation, spend time with the family. That was your goal. But what ends up happening is you're actually working more hours and never have time. So my goal is basically to help entrepreneurs flip that side and be able to create the life first, and how is the business supported. So let me dive a little bit into that conversation, because speaking with you before this podcast, I know, you're a mom, you have kids, right? So you got married. How many kids do you have?
So I just have 2.
I just have 2. So you're like, I'm not going after 11, right?
Yeah, and actually fun fact about my family, like my original family, like there's 10 girls and only 1 boy. So I only have 1 brother, and he's the 9th. Oh wow. So it's a lot of fun. I love my sisters. It's a lot of fun.
That must have been a trip growing up with 10 siblings.
Yeah. And most of them girls, it was a lot of fun, and it still is lots. We have girl weekends. So actually I am very blessed that, and we are going to probably talk about what I have been able to do as far like professionally. But because of that, I have time and money, freedom, and I love it because I'm able to go to Finland. Like this year, obviously I haven't been, but last year I actually ended up going like 3 times, and like we have like girl weekends, like sister weekends, and we have like so much fun. So
because they're still over there. Some of them are over there.
Everybody's over there.
Everybody's over there.
They just ended up staying here for 2 years and then went back.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm the only one here.
Okay, so you got 2 kids, husband, and you're living here. And I know you ended up in real estate. How did that come about?
So I got pregnant, and I never really thought that I'm going to be the stay-at-home mom type. But once I had our first child, it was like, there's no chance I can send her to daycare, like when she is little, like it was just, I just would not do it. And, but we kind of could use some extra income. So I was kind of like keeping my eyes open if there's anything that I can do that doesn't require me to go to actually get the job. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like some like multi-level marketing type of things come to your way when you're looking for things. And it's like, no, none of that is my kind of thing. And then one day, I think I was driving in a car with my daughters, and I happened to hear in a radio them like interviewing or talking about Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And I was like, that sounds interesting. And I went and got it right away and read it. And I was like, this is it, like passive real estate investing. This is what I'm going to do. And that's going to be a way for us to become free. And because I do want to like still, like we travel quite a bit, but I want to like actually be able to spend significant time in different countries because I love different cultures. And I was like, okay, this is going to be it. So it will give us the freedom to do whatever we choose to do. And the problem was, I read that book in 2005. Okay. And there was absolutely nothing in Phoenix at that time. Well, there might have been, but nothing that I came across that cash flowed. And Robert Kiyosaki's thing is all about like you have to have plenty of positive cash flow so you're never upside down. And that cash flow is what basically builds. And so I couldn't buy anything for like 2 years. So what I did, I just kept studying, reading all the books I can find, listening all the, like there were still some cassette tapes and CDs, listening everything I could find and educating myself. And then like also like running numbers on different things and nothing would work. And I was like, there's going to be a way and maybe I need to go to other markets or something. But then luckily for me, but I know it was really sad for whole lot of people, but for me, like the correction came and the values in Phoenix market in many areas like dropped 75%, which is incredible. So now suddenly I was able to start buying properties and I was able to like really quickly build our portfolio and those homes that like brings in a huge cash flow because I was able to pick them up in such a like inexpensive price. So that's how I got into real estate.
Okay, so you've been investing since about 07, 08?
Yeah, so I think that we bought the first property 2000, like kind of in part of 2008.
Okay, wow.
Like I had before that, we had moved once and we actually kept that house, our old house as a rental. So I had a little bit of experience. And then the new house that we bought when we kept the old one, actually, and we still live in the same house, had 2 guest houses. And I really highly recommend for all of the audience, like if you are purchasing, especially if you're purchasing your first home, buy something that either have guest houses or buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and do the house hacking thing because when you buy your first property, you only need to put like 3% or 5% down. And you can buy up to 4 units with a regular residential loan. And then if you live in 1 unit yourself, then those others will pay your mortgage and you get to save so much money. And then all of the money that you are saving, then you can invest into more properties if you want to. And when you use that model, like where you do the house hacking, you only really have to live there for 1 year with the tenants. Then you can like get another loan and buy something else. Like, so. And us having those 2 tenants here in my property in the guest houses, like it's having great. Like it's having like, yeah, it's awesome. So there's no negative really being so close to your tenants. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I would never want to be anywhere near my tenants or whatever. But if you choose your tenants carefully and they are awesome people, then it's like fun to live near them.
Okay, so most of your investing is in rentals?
Yes.
So you do rentals, okay.
All of it. And some of them now I have turned into vacation rentals and then some of them are long-term rentals. But yes, I mean, I have done like in 2016 to 2018, I also did a bunch of flips just for fun. But no, I'm passive income investor and I have a nice sized rental portfolio that pays our bills.
All right, very cool. All right. So listen, so my question to you next is if you're, because I know your passion is about helping moms, right?
Yes.
helping moms, and there is a reason why. Like, why are moms? Why are you helping moms?
Well, mostly because like I want every child to have the opportunity to have their mom available to them if like yeah, have their mom to be able to be available to them, to be able to go all their events, to if they are sick, to be there for them. So I mean, I'm really actually more doing it for the child than for the mom. But it's and it's so easy for the mom to do this, like real estate passive income investing, because it doesn't take a tons of time, and you can have your kid with you on everything, like when you're purchasing, when you're going to look at properties. Like, so it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it sounds like this is very dear to your heart.
Definitely.
To be able to do that, right? Because I mean, you've been a mother yourself, and I'm assume that you took your kids to when you were looking at the houses, right, when they were little. Yeah. And I actually know another pretty big real estate investor who's now around the country who she did the same thing, and she took her kids to all the different deals that she was doing and all that kind of stuff, and now some of them are grown up and they're going and looking into invest themselves, right? So if you were to talk to a single mom now, and single mom, let's say, or married mom, right, for the kids, what would you tell her? Like, how should she start into this? And I guess real estate is the vehicle, right, that you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
How would she go about starting into this?
So the first thing is to get educated. So, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on like courses and like gurus. Like there's so much free information on internet, like really great information, like YouTube videos. And actually, the one thing that I have been working on really hard this last month is I'm actually putting together a rental income summit. It's a 3-day virtual conference on November 18th through the 20th, where over 30 top real estate experts are sharing their secrets and like how to build rental income. And and that summit is free. So you might want to check that one out. But in any case, the main thing is to get educated, and on top of getting educated about the real estate, like work on your mindset, because I think that there are a whole lot of people who actually learn like how to do it, but then they still never take the action because they are too scared. So then the next step I would do after you kind of educate yourself, so you kind of know like what, like the basics, then find a mentor, because without a mentor, I would have been too scared to do my first rental. And here's the secret for finding the mentor without having to spend money. Find a good realtor. So if you decide that, let's say here in Phoenix, I decided, okay, I'm going to invest in here. So I went ahead and found a realtor who owns properties herself. So it happened to be a lady. She was actually a single mom who had built a rental portfolio. And so she owned properties herself. So then I chose her to be my realtor, helping me find properties. And then I didn't have to pay anything for her because seller pays the commission when I buy something. But she was there. Like I felt like I can trust her advice because she knows she's doing this herself. And then whenever I got that, like, I'm too scared, like, what about if I never find tenants? What about if tenants destroy this place? She would be like, Anne, just calm down. Like, you're going to start security deposits and you will definitely get it rented. So don't worry. So like, that's kind of what you need. And that's a little like tip. So you don't have to pay somebody to mentor you. You can just find a realtor who is a good one. But there's a whole lot of realtors that don't know anything about investing. Yeah, this is a weird thing. People think like, oh, realtors, they must know everything about real estate.
No.
But most realtors don't know anything about investing.
Yeah.
So the secret is to find the one that does. And so you might end up having to pick up the phone and call multiple agents to finally find the right one. But when you find the right one, it can change everything.
Awesome. I love that tip. I mean, that's a really good, because you were kind of in a way, the realtor is making money from the commissions from the houses. Yeah. But at the same time, as you're talking with her and having conversation with her and, you bring up different points, you end up being mentored by her. So that's a pretty awesome little tip. So
yeah, even when
go ahead.
Even when I purchased it, then she was able to kind of guide me, like how do I get it rented and all that stuff. So yeah, it's and it didn't cost me anything. So it is a.
So how would you find a realtor that's an investor?
So mine actually, it was just kind of a lucky thing. I ended up going to, because what I did, I went to lots of open houses so I can kind of get an idea of what the properties are going for. And then I saw this one house that I was kind of like, maybe I should see it. So I called. And then this realtor happened to come to show it. And then while she was showing it, we talked. And then I realized, like, wow, she does this herself. So then I was like, okay, I want you to help me. So I just got lucky. But I think that if you don't, not everybody get that lucky. So I think that you can probably Google like your city and then investor realtor and see if anything comes up that way. And if nothing comes up that way, then maybe call to the broker. There's like every realtor has to work for a broker, like be underneath the broker. So call to those main brokerages, to the main number, and then just ask like, hey, do you have any agents that you know that also invest in real estate? And they will probably tell you. So that might be the way. And then even after that, I would, because you are basically hiring them, even though that you are never paying anything for them yourself. Like I would still like call a few and talk with them and just kind of find the one that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Don't be shy calling. Go ahead.
I think that's a good idea. I find a lot of realtors who are investors in my circles basically end up starting as an investor, and then to have access to MLS and all that kind of stuff, they go and get the realtor license. So then they become under the brokerage. So the way I would look for them is go into the local RIA, which is a Real Estate Investment Association. Go over there and just start having conversations with people and see which investors are realtors. Yep. And looking, because they're talking about being investors, they're talking about, whether or not they're actually being successful, because you want to make sure that whoever the realtor is that you end up getting, or the investor, they're actually making deals happen. They're not just talking, and they're actually successful, right? Because you want to learn someone from who's talk the talk, walk the walk, and they're actually doing stuff. So then you start looking from that perspective, and I think you'll be able to find somebody. So hey, it's Polish Peter, and I want to offer you something very amazing right now. And we're going to jump back into the episode. But before we do, what if I was able to help you uncover a limiting belief, break through that limiting belief, or abandon the old mindset that doesn't help you, or be able to create a powerful why for you, just like Anne did on this particular episode? Well, guess what? Now I can. I created this offer that I think you will be crazy not to take me up on. It's called oneconversationaway.com. It's conversationaway.com. When you head over there, you're going to find out that every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I am doing a free, no catch, no obligation, no cost, clarity session for you to be able to get a one-on-one coaching conversation with me. And just head over to oneconversationaway.com. On that website, you're going to find out why I'm doing this, what's the reason. If there is a catch, actually, there is one catch, which I'll explain on that particular page, and it's benefiting you. So oneconversationaway.com. Hope to see you on there. Fill out the short form to make sure that we're a great fit for each other, to be able to have this conversation. And without further ado, I hope to see you on Thursday at 1 p.m., one of the Thursdays on Zoom, and helping you break through to the next possibility and away from those limiting beliefs. So without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Listen, what are some of, because you mentioned about mindset, people get scared, get afraid, and all that kind of stuff. And I was recently on your end, and we talked about mindset a little bit. But from your perspective, from your experience, what do you think is some of the things that are stopping people from actually being successful?
Successful in general or in investing?
In investing.
Yeah. So I mean, I think fear is definitely the biggest thing. And then I think the other thing is people like maybe trying to be perfectionist, like thinking that they need to know everything. Right. And you don't need to know everything. You need to like know enough and then take the first step. And then you learn during that first step. And then if things don't go so smoothly, then you course correct and move again. So yeah, I think it's just trying to be perfect, like afraid to start, and then being scared of the actual, like, because can be big numbers. So being scared of such a big investment.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, it's funny you mentioned about the perfection. One of my students, we do these retreats 3 times a year. And so when they come to the retreats, and she's been in my program with me for over 2 years now, I think. And every single time she comes into the retreat, she gives us an update about what she's done. And, she just rocks it out. Like, I mean, she's making deals. She's just has these properties happening, right? And the whole time she talks about, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, really? Because you come here every single time and you're just, making things happen. So what I'm saying is that she's not looking from being a perfectionist. She just goes and does it, right?
Yep.
And the mentor, like if you just ask, like one of the things I talk to my students, like just do the next step, right? And I think what fear happens is when you look way out there into the future and what might be the problem and all that kind of stuff. But if you just look like one step ahead, you're able to actually take better actions. If you have a mentor like you talked about, they can help you walk alongside of it. So how did you overcome those things?
So first of all, I think I was like born pretty stubborn. And like when I put my mind into something, like nothing is going to stop me. But, and then that motive, actually, really my why. I had my why. And the why was that I want for us to be able to retire or be free, financially free, so I can spend, because my dream always was like, I want to live in different countries so I can really like immerse myself into the culture, because I love people, I love different cultures. And I just wanted to make it so that we can do that. And my husband can stop working and we can do that. So that was kind of the why, was the motivating factor. So you have to have a strong why. And then for me to get past the actual fear during the first transaction, it was having that mentor who was my realtor.
Right. So when you were in the middle of a transaction, right, and you had to take the next step or sign the contract or whatever it might be, there was the fear popping up, right? What had you go to the next step? Was it the why that you started thinking about, like, you know what, but this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this, right? Was that the why, or is the realtor? Like, what was it?
So, I mean, it was the why. So I was thinking of that and thinking like, okay, I'm going to be making this many $100 every month after I buy this house. So it was like, that was really motivating, because it's like, that's my first step towards my big goal. And then if I got like really scared, because there were a few times where I was like completely like panicking basically. And then it was the mentor saying like, it's going to be okay. Like, there's nothing to worry about, like nothing to be scared of. So then that was what kind of got
you had somebody kind of on your side helping you get through it. Yeah. I truly believe that. I mean, when you have someone like that, whether it's a mentor or coach or someone who's actually helping you get alongside of it, it becomes a lot more easier. I have another question for you. So you've been in real estate for almost 12 years now, about?
Yeah.
And you probably learned quite a bit after all this. So if you were to go back to like 08, 09 to your old self, what would you tell your old self now that you know what you know?
I would tell my old self to don't be so scared and don't be so risk averse and don't have this scarcity mindset. In the beginning, I had pretty I just somehow I was born with the scarcity mindset, not born, but like somehow I developed the scarcity mindset during my lifetime. And so I used to be like super cheap and like I have luckily now gotten out of this and have the abundance mindset, and it's so much better. But I was like so scared to lose money on that I missed out on a lot of opportunities. I could have like gotten us probably to the financial freedom like in a year because the values were so amazing. If I would have been just if I wouldn't have been so uptight. I don't know what the word for that is.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, and I think it's a great subject that you bring up because I think a lot of immigrants, I mean, me personally, I grew up in a communist country, right? Poland was communist up until I think 89, 90 or so. And then that got abolished. But that was a big scarcity. There was scarcity mindset was huge. Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up, we literally had not much food or go to a store, there's nothing on the shelves, you literally had to be first in line because if you didn't have a loaf of bread, or whatever it might be, right? So that was prevalent. And as I came here and I started creating my own family, I saw that for myself quite a bit. Like kids would ask me, hey, can we get this? And I said, well, we don't have enough money, right? Or can't afford it. That was the answer that I had. Can't afford it. That's the scarcity mindset.
Yep.
So, and you came over to the abundance mindset. How was that transition? Like what had changed for you to be able to do that?
It's just lots of self-development courses and reading and stuff like that.
Okay.
I took I think this is it. So I took a Millionaire Mind intensive or whatever its name is. I don't know if you have heard of it.
Harvecker.
Yeah, it's Harvecker stuff. And I think that I did the first one maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And that one was a really eye-opening, like it's 3-day thing. And you really go deep into your beliefs, money beliefs. And that was the thing that I think like kind of opened my eyes to the fact that I'm living into this really scarcity, scared mindset. And that's limiting my growth a lot, like my financial growth. And I loved that course so much that I actually was like, I came back and I was like, Jim, like my husband, like you need to take this. So on the next weekend, I happened to be doing one in San Francisco. So we flew over there so I can have him take it too. So I took it personally for the second time then. And then I have done it for the third time since then. But yeah, that helped a lot. And then since then I have done way more also reading and some other self-help courses. I don't know what those are called exactly.
So let me ask you this. What was back in the day when you had the scarcity mindset, what was your view of money?
So the view of money was that there's not enough money and you cannot lose money and you cannot waste money and you just had to hold to money really tightly. So I was super risk averse. And I mean, I still am reasonably risk averse. And as a result, I had never lost any money on my real estate purchases, which is good. But to be like holding onto your money too tight, you're missing out on all the opportunities that can actually make your money grow. Plus the other thing that kind of sucks now looking back, like I'm way more generous now with my contractors and my handyman and I think that, and I feel better about it inside of myself. And I think that then I get a better service from people too. But then I was like kind of negotiating everything kind of too hard and I feel like I wasn't necessarily fair to people always because I was so afraid to lose money. So I was just trying to keep it all for myself.
I gotcha. What's your view of money right now?
Right now, my view is that money is abundant and that money is abundant and it's here to actually enjoy and also help others with. And that's my
I can totally see like your just face expression completely change when you're talking about how money is abundant and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's one of those things too that I come across when I get coaching students and one of the things when somebody comes in and they have the scarcity mindset, one of the things I ask them to do is, go and give $1, $10 away to somebody else, whatever it might be, whatever you can give right now, whatever, just start giving some money out. Let's give it to a homeless person, give it to a charity, give it to someone, to start giving money out, because that, like you said, the scarcity mindset, you like want to hold on to it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the more you want to hold on to it, the less there it seems there is, right?
Absolutely.
Seems like
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
leaving, right? The more you want to hold on to it, it keeps leaving. So listen, so how much of that abundance mindset do you think has had an impact on you when it comes to being successful in real estate and life?
So before I was really able to change my mindset, I was able to create pretty nice cash flow. But in the last few years, that cash flow have like exploded. So I think that it definitely have helped me take it to another level.
Okay. And that
abundance. But it's like easy now, because before it was kind of like, it was hard. Like it felt like I felt tight. Like it, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was kind of hard and scary. And now it's like joyful.
Yeah.
And it's just like much easier to create the money and everything else.
Right. And you're being joyful, not just with money, but with the contractors and like you said, and the people around you, right? And what's the result of that? You get great contractors, right?
Yeah, I get great contractors and then they will want to come back. Like I have more continuity, obviously.
Yep. And they keep coming back.
And then I also, most importantly, feel good inside my own heart for being fair and taking care of people.
Okay. Right. How old are your kids right now?
They are 19 and 22.
Are they doing anything with real estate, or are they thinking about that? Or
not yet. So this is kind of the funny thing. For some reason, I mean, I think that kids go through the kind of thing where they're like, they don't want to do anything that their parents are doing.
Right.
And my kids definitely went through that. I think they have been probably hearing too much about the real estate growing up. So they definitely went through that. But now, especially my younger one, like, is like, okay, yeah, I think that I'm going to create real estate portfolio that kind of pays my bills, and then I don't have to, like, she has a really passion for math and she's extremely smart, so she's going to get the degree on that, but she's like, I think I need to like kind of also have this other thing so I don't have to worry. So she's definitely like thinking about it but haven't actually taken any action on it. My older one, I'm not 100% sure if she's yet even thinking about it.
I gotcha. All right. So listen, if somebody, you're talking to a mom that's got kids and they're like teenagers or whatever, what would you tell that mom when it comes to, imparting some wisdom or influencing them or passing some good habits or whatever on to their kids? What would you tell them? What should they say, do, or be with their kids?
So I honestly don't have a good answer, because I honestly feel like I kind of failed on that. Like, so I mean, I guess the one thing that I did right is that, because I would drive them to school and back every day, and we had a little bit of a commute. So during those times, we would talk a lot, and I would bring up like real estate type of stuff or business type of stuff. So they definitely like got immersed on that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So they at least grew up in some knowledge, but then maybe it was too much and that kind of turned them off. Yeah, and then the other thing I try to do is like give them the Rich Dad Poor Dad book and things like that, but they definitely were like resisting on learning any more of that stuff. So I honestly, I can't give a good advice on that.
But it's funny, interesting, because I have a whole bunch of moms in my program, and almost without fail, almost every single mom says, I don't think I'm that good enough of a mom. And that is so prevalent, I think, with moms. I mean, you guys are rocking it out. I mean, as far as I know, a mom, what it takes for you to be able to do everything that you do, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. And especially you've been able to build yourself a really good business, cash flowing business with kids, and you have a husband in a completely different country, which, by the way, when you came in, did you speak English?
So I did, but it wasn't very good. In Finland, everybody has to start studying English on 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. So obviously I have studied it, but yeah, I definitely, it was not like very fluent. I wasn't very fluent at all. And obviously, I still have a very heavy accent.
Okay. So what do you say to someone that says, well, it's easy for you to say, but I mean, I can't speak English very well, or, to be successful here in States or whatever? What would you say to them?
So that actually was one of those things that I had for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I was really kind of uncomfortable making the calls to like different offices and things like that, and feeling like people are not going to take me seriously. And sometimes I would be like to my husband, like, no, you make these calls because like and I felt like, okay, I might want to have my own business, but I felt like I don't think that I can have my business because nobody's ever going to take me seriously with my accent and all that. But then with the real estate, luckily it's the kind of business that it didn't really matter. So when I started doing real estate stuff, I didn't really think about my accent because there's not that much that you have to talk to customers or anything like that.
Okay. And then sounds to me like your husband made some phone calls, so which sounds to me like you had an employee already. So you had your husband be an employee, right? Works for you. So no, but yeah, that's one of those things that I think when people get through, right? Because I had to think about my accent too for a long time. I thought it was a bad thing. It's not going to help me. It's going to hold me back. People are not going to understand me, right? Or get me or laugh or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah. And now actually I feel like it's a benefit because people think that I'm more interesting. And then it's a really good way to start a conversation. And I think they are going to remember me better than if I was just had a fluent American accent. So it really is a benefit, but it took me a while to figure that out.
It is a benefit. And from all those things that you said, and another thing that I found out too, is that when you have an accent, people need to listen more carefully, right?
You are right.
So they're paying attention to you a lot more than they would to somebody else. And that is a very cool thing, isn't it?
Yes, I never thought of that. Yeah, that's very true.
So that is very true. So listen, Anna, I want to make sure that I respect your time. So I want to go into my Polish Speeders final round. Okay. And my first question is, what book would you recommend to the listeners?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That changed my life, and it can totally change other people's life too.
I totally agree. That was one of the first books I've ever read too. That was my actually second book that I read. My first book was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Somehow I ended up with that book, and that was the second one. All right. Next question. So we talked quite a bit about the accent. We talked about coming to United States and not really knowing much. You talked about as a mother growing up, as actually investing in real estate and all those kinds of things, and the fear and all those things. If you were to give one last piece of advice to the immigrant listener who's looking to, be successful, take the next step, whatever it might be, what would you say to them?
Be brave. Just in your own mindset, you're like, I am amazing. I can do this, and just be brave and do it.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. Because think about it this way. If you're an immigrant, doesn't matter if you came here as a kid or you came here as an adult, the fact that you actually just got here to the United States, how much it took for you to be brave already to be able to do that, right? Yeah. So you're already brave, right? It's just a matter of putting it in that one area that you're looking to make more money or whatever it might be. Awesome. Next question. One thing that you want to share about your own country, Finland. Maybe it's a food, custom, saying, anything, place that we don't know.
Well, we have a saying that vaikka harmaan kiven läpi, and it means like we go through even the gray, like, wait a second. Go through the gray rock. Like it means basically like we can go through the granite if we need to go. And that like is in my mind a lot. Like I can get through like the hardest thing. And that's like a saying in Finland that is like a very common, normal saying.
And you say granite? Like we
call it, well, it really is granite, but we call it in a saying, it's gray rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So so it's perseverance, about being resilient.
It's about perseverance,
right?
Yes.
Never giving up. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very cool. Yeah. All right. So I believe that every single person in the world has a superpower. What's yours?
Well, I think it is persistence. I don't ever give up. and I
Awesome.
go
Very cool.
deep in things.
Okay. Got it. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Persistence is one of those things that I hear a lot from people and then I interview here on the podcast here. And I think that's what makes people successful when they're being persistent, you know? My last question for you is someone were to reach out to you, find out more about you or work with you, where would they go?
Well, I just started a thing called Rental Income Academy. So they could email me at Anne, A-N-N-E, at rentalincomeacademy.com or yeah, that's probably the best
Okay.
for now. And then they can also check out rentalincomeacademy.com. I'm still like putting more stuff in there because it's pretty new thing, but
okay, but that website, rentalincomeacademy.com, would be the one to go and find out more about, you know, rentals and all that kind of stuff, what you mentioned earlier, that summit, I think we talked about.
Yeah, and if people want to learn how to get started in investing, so I should have some information there pretty soon.
All right. Awesome. Very cool. Well, listen, and thank you so much for spending the time with me here and sharing about yourself, about your kids and life. And I think one of the big takeaways that I have from this particular episode with you is when you have a strong why, like for you is, you know, with the kids and being a mom, and now you end up doing that for other moms, right, with the kids. When you have that strong why, I mean, anything is possible. You can do all kinds of different things and you can really make things happen. So thank you so much for sharing yourself with us. For all the listeners on this episode, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you guys, because without you listening and coming on to this podcast, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't be able to talk to you, you know, and share these amazing people with you. So thank you. If you want to hear more episodes, you can head over to Masters Unite, that's mastersunite.com. And all the episodes are on there as of this recording. We have over 80 of them. And there's a lot of great people on there. And as always, I would appreciate you guys leaving any feedback or a review on iTunes for this particular show, because this is what helps me to bring more of those cool people onto the show for you guys. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.